So today we're going to be talking about living a simple life. Now, this is a topic that is very interesting to me. I love talking about it because more than 10 years ago now, I started taking steps to simplify my life, and it has been one of the best decisions I've ever made. However, it's just so interesting to me and actually quite odd to me that while you would think all of us would want a simple life and an uncomplicated life, most of us don't live lives like that. And which is even odder is that when you talk to people about simplifying their life, you get like real pushback. Like people almost get angry, you know what I mean? People get mad about it, you know? And I've had so many people tell me like, Tim, I want stuff. I want to achieve things like in this life. I don't just want a simple life. And over the years, having these different conversations, it made me realize a couple things about most people's perception about the simple life, as well as why they keep complicating their lives, okay? And the first thing is that the powers that be, that mysterious they, the people who run the world, the people who influence us with the programming through music, through television, through social media, the people who have the power to influence how we think, they have done a masterful job of making a simple life seem like a life where you're depriving yourself of something. Okay? That's why people push back so hard, because they feel like, oh, if I simplify my life, I'm depriving myself of something. This isn't true. Actually, I think it's the opposite. I feel like if you are living this fast-paced, complicated life with all this unnecessary stuff in it, you are depriving yourself of living life. You are depriving yourself of actually living life. We only got 80, 90, 100 years to do this human earth life thing. And if your life is overcomplicated and you got all this unnecessary stuff going on or this unnecessary stuff in your life, you are depriving yourself of living those years. And that is one of the things I can say. Once I simplified my life, I really started living, because I took out the unnecessary goals. And here's the big thing. A lot of people's lives are complicated not by what they have or what they're doing, but by what they're chasing. A lot of people's lives are complicated because they feel that they need to have this, or they need to achieve that, or they need to be doing this, or they need to get that. And so their whole life is just wrapped up in trying to get there because they have these complicated goals that society has sold them. But once I kind of started simplifying my life and I started thinking about, okay, what is it that I, Timothy Ward, actually want to do? I started living more because I started going after my goals. Because here's the thing, it's not always what we have in our life that takes the simplicity out of it. It's why we're going after it. Okay? And when you realize, okay, this is something I really want to go after, or this is something I want to buy, or this is someone I want to date because I really love that person, I really like that, I really want to do this, then you'll just focus on that. Okay? Most of us don't want a lot going on in our life. We don't. We really don't. Society has told us that we do. Society has told us that we want a ton of possessions. Society has told us that you need to always be hustling, hustle culture, go, 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 go. You can sleep when you're dead, which is crazy because if you're dead, you're not sleeping. But anyway, society's told us that. But if you really take the time to sit down and meditate and take some long walks in nature and ask yourself, what do I really want? Most people come back with 2 or 3 things. I know a lot of people's I have no clue what I actually want. That shows you how few things we actually want in life. Because there's a lot of people who's I can't even figure out one thing. If they could figure out 1 or 2 things, they'd be ecstatic. That just goes to show we really don't care about all this other stuff. Most of us find a couple things in life we really appreciate, we really enjoy, and then we just double down on those. And I feel like that's living a simple life. I know for me, I love travel. I started traveling. I love being in nature. So typically I travel to places with lots of nature, and I spend lots of time walking by myself in the natures. It's very simple. It's not complicated. I just do the things I like to do, and I feel so alive doing it. But when you have this ideal that like there always has to be something more you're doing, and many of us has felt this. Many of us can never truly relax because we feel like we always need to be doing something more, and typically something more that involves money. A lot of people find it hard. Either they're like hardcore doing something that they enjoy, or they're making money. A lot of people find it very hard to just sit on the couch and stare out the window. You know what I mean? Like, because we always got to be like doing something, but you really don't. You can cut all that out of your life. You know, this ideal that you have to continually be buying something to bring you happiness is not true. You can get happiness from things you buy. But if we're being honest, a lot of times we're buying things to either like fill a void because we don't have true happiness, or we're trying to impress the people around us. And so we're complicating our lives with these extra possessions for reasons that don't really matter to us, or reasons that aren't helping us. And that's why we have to continue to keep buying things, because we're once again trying to fill that unfillable void with possessions, and that won't work to bring us true happiness. And you can't impress other people like enough, okay? If you're buying stuff to impress people, it's never gonna be enough because it gets old. You buy a brand new car, next year they're like, look at him in that year-old car. You know what I mean? You gotta get a new car. So the possessions thing is just so part of the program. And one of the best ways we can simplify our life is to just decide what is the right amount of possessions in my life for me. And then just live with that. And as it goes up or it goes down, your possessions go up or go down. And there doesn't have to be a feeling of like depriving yourself. In fact, like, I know for me, I love the fact that I don't have a lot of stuff. I don't ever lose anything. I know it's all in my room or in my suitcase. You know what I mean? And I love that lifestyle. There's so much less I have to worry about. Just worrying about stuff, and worrying about people stealing it, and worrying about the upkeep, and worrying about it running down, and worrying about it breaking. It's so much easier to just have the right amount of possessions that you need, and the ones you really want, and then go through life that way. But it's understandable that, even though it doesn't make sense, it's understandable that so many people just think that like a better life is a complicated life, because they've complicated the whole world. The society we live in is just like so complicated. I just think about like all the things you need really to survive: food, clothing, shelter, water, love. Back in the day, our ancestors way back in the day, if they just walked out of wherever they were at and walked long enough, they could find all of it. You know, all you had to do was just walk long enough and you could find food, animals, berries, fruits, vegetables. You could find trees to make shelter. Also, if you went hunting, you could use some of the animal skins combined with the trees for shelter. You know, clothing, once again, if you went hunting, you took the animal skins, you made clothing. Water, you walk far enough, you find a lake, you find a creek, you find a river, okay? Love, you know, other human beings were readily available right around. You know, it wasn't always easy, but it was simple. Like, it wasn't complicated. You just had to go looking for what you needed, and it was there, and it was readily available. Once you learned to hunt, you knew you were okay to eat. I just got to find some animals. Once you learn from your parents or your grandparents what the edible berries are and what roots and things you could eat, you were fine. You just had to find them. You need a house? Let's get some trees and some skins or some palm fronds, make a house. You didn't have to stress about it. But let's fast forward to our time. Now, instead of you just being able to freely go out and get what you want, you have to find a job, apply for it, have somebody else say you're worthy to work at this job. You have to work 40 plus hours a week. Then like you get paid, you got to wait a week or two to actually get the money you worked for. And then hopefully it's enough that you can go to the store and hopefully get the food you want. See the complication? Before, you just went out and found it. Might not have been always the easiest thing. You know, some days you get the bear, some days the bear gets you, but the concept is very simple. These days, it is so complicated. There are so many steps it takes to feed your family. So many steps it takes to, like, get a dwelling. You know the hoops you got to jump through to get an apartment these days? That's why I've been living in Airbnbs, hotels. You know the hoops you got to jump through just to get an apartment? They have made it so complicated, okay? It's just, just so many. And clothing, once again, you got to work to get the money to buy clothing. None of us know how to sew and make our own clothes. I don't even know if that's legal anymore. And then you got the guilt because you buy clothes and you're worried about what sweatshop that maybe some kids were working in with small fingers to make the clothes. Complicated. Even when you do get clothes, you're guilty. You can't wear them right. Everything's complicated. Water, come on now. Water is you try to buy bottled water, and drink decent water because you can't drink it out the tap. And people tell you, don't drink bottled water. That's wrong. You feel kind of wrong because, like, why do I need to buy water? But what other option do I have? You can get you a bottle with a filter, things of that nature. You can do other things, but it's just so complicated. Before, you just went down to the creek and slurped up some water. Can't do that these days. Everything's complicated. And so when complicated becomes the norm, like when the world you're born into, everything's complicated to do. To just survive is complication. You start to think that that's normal. So when someone comes along and is like, oh, you can simplify your life, you're just like, what are you talking about, crazy man? Like, this is regular. This is normal. People always tell me, Tim, I'm a realist. And I'm like, I don't think so, because a lot of people just look at the way things are and they look at the world now and they're like, I'm a realist. I see how the world is and I accept it and go with it. I'm like, a true realist looks at everything. So I think at some levels, I'm a naive, delusional dreamer, but I'm actually really a realist, I think. Because I look at the past, I look at now, and I extrapolate and think of what might happen in the future. I don't just look at what we've done with the world now and just say, hey, that's the way it has to be. No, I'm like, it didn't used to be that way. It's that way now, but we can all start changing and make it so the world isn't that way for our great-great-great-great-grandkids. Or your great-great-great-grandkids, because I'm not having kids. Anyway, and I really do think that a lot more people are starting to just get so fed up with the current situation that more and more people are embracing a simpler life. More and more people are just getting rid of the excess. They're not going for these lofty goals. Some people are deciding, hey, if I don't really want a job in corporate America, perhaps I don't need to go, to college, get a college degree, get student loan debts, get off in that type of rat race. Maybe I just want to graduate high school, start working somewhere and stay there. Who knows? You know what I mean? Like, there's just options. Now, one thing I do want to point out is that there is no one set right way to live a simple life. I'm big on the fact that all of us are different, all of us are unique, and we all have different goals, dreams, wants, desires, things of that nature. The thing is to figure out what that is for you and go after it. And the reason I point out certain things as saying, oh, a lot of people are pushing back against that is because it's been the societal norm for 50 years. Not saying there's anything wrong with it, but for so many years we were taught this is what you do. And so now more and more people are just saying, like, hey, I don't want to do that. I want to do this over here. But if you're someone who wants to do that, go for it. You can live the societal norm lifestyle or a variation of it simply. You can live like any life you want to live simply. Living the simple life doesn't mean you have to be in the woods. It doesn't mean you have to have a cottage, down by the river. Okay? It doesn't mean you have to live in a vehicle, live in a car. For a lot of us, that's the way we choose to do it. But at the end of the day, the simple life is really just getting in tune with what you want out of life and going after that. You don't have to live it in a manner that other people approve of. As long as you're not hurting nobody and it's bringing you joy or leading you down the path to happiness, it's okay. Take analysis of your life and just look at all the things that are in it, all the things you're going after, and just ask yourself, do I really care about this being in my life? Do I really want this goal? When I achieve this goal, is it going to make me happy, or am I just going to want to tell other people about it so hopefully, they think better of me? We got, like I said, 80, 90, 100 years here. All we really got to do is get from womb to tomb. You're born, you live, you die. And one of the saddest tragedies, I think, is that we spend so much of our time doing stuff that does not bring us joy, doing stuff that we don't really want to do, just going along with this ever evolving, increasingly more complicated, technological, digital, whatever situation that the powers that be got going on, because it enriches them. It makes them more money. It gives them more control. But we can pull away from that. We can pull away from that. We can shut out, shut off, get rid of any of this stuff we don't want in our life. And we can have our life pared down to where it's just goals we want to go after, things we want to do, the people we really love that we want in our life. That's another way, real quick, that we can simplify our life, is to get people out of it that we don't need in it. Okay? Just because somebody's family doesn't mean they have to be in your life. All right? If you don't like somebody, they don't have to be in your life. They will get over it. They will get over it. But if we just spend our time with the people we love, you know, just because someone's been your friend for 100 years doesn't mean they have to stay your friend if they're acting crazy. Spend our life just doing the things we want to do as much as possible. Yes, you know, a lot of us have to work, you know, and yes, there's other things. We got to pay taxes and we got to pay rent. Yes. But we can set up a lifestyle to where once we've done those things that maybe we don't always jump out of bed excited to do, the rest of our life is us living our life for us. And yes, that might sound a little selfish, but I think ultimately you have to be a little selfish in this life, or you'll just go along with what everybody else is doing. And that leads to you having this hyper complicated life that when it ends, you might even be questioning why you even lived it. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Thank you so much for staying this long in the video. I really appreciate it. Appreciate y'all tuning in, being part of this fabulous community. In the comment section, if you got a little time, are you planning on simplifying your life? Have you simplified your life? And if so, you know, in what ways did you do it? How does it make you feel? If there's anybody who tried the simple life and hated it, chime in, let us know, you know, the other side. You know, I always say these are just my views and opinions. I could be wrong. So if you think I'm wrong, please say so. Keep it respectful, because you'll get blocked with love. Keep it respectful. But yeah, please just let me know, you know, if you disagree, agree, whatever. Let's make this a conversation. I love each and every one of y'all. Talk to y'all soon.